Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rachak Kodash. That belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone with true well. Citations to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Sadakim. I'm going to do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shimon. This week's topic, we're going to be covering Trump versus Elon, or Elon-Trump fallout. Pretty much this lesson is going to be an open forum kind of thing a little bit, because I only got like 3 scriptures, but let's see if the Spirit has more to come. Lord willing, it does. And yeah, so yesterday in pretty much real time, Elon jumped on X and just had an ultimate crash out. Meaning he was just going after Trump. He was citing the bill. He called it a pork-filled bill. Now, the big beautiful bill, there is certain things in there that is going to increase the deficit spending. When I've done lessons on deficit spending, saying deficit spending is not it's just not blanket good or bad, right? Because businesses, corporations, even individuals do deficit spending at times, right? Like, I give you an example. I could be in the hole $50,000 in debt. I could then borrow a loan for $200,000 and go and invest that $200,000. Now, technically, I'm spending at a deficit, right? I increased my credit limit to try to use that capital to not only cover my debt of $50,000, but to make more than over time. In that scenario, if you invest it correctly, deficit spending is good. Some might say, don't borrow that. You already in debt $50,000. Try to work off that $50,000, but working off that $50,000 could take you maybe years, depending on where you're at. So when people say deficit spending is bad, that's not necessarily true, because there's certain times where deficit spending could be useful. Like I just said, this is what corporations do. This is what companies do. When a company goes public to raise capital, it's because it's debt. It needs money to run its operation. If it's successful, it can make back more than what it borrowed, more than what you invested in. So it's not outright bad. And the big debate is among some Republicans is that's gonna just balloon the debt. But there's certain things, and there's one thing Scott Besson said, that one thing they don't factor in, and which is in the bill, is the tariffs, right? The tariffs is estimated over the 10-year course of the bill to have a surplus, again, estimated of $2.6 trillion, which will make the bill, in essence, a net surplus. So I think it's beyond the bill, because, in the bill, it's going to remove certain EV mandates that was put in by the Biden administration, which, that's how this guy makes his money, getting subsidized by the government. Now, Trump is saying, look, we could threaten him by not subsidizing the government. But Elon came back and says, I will dismantle SpaceX. He names this particular rocket, this particular thing, that he will dismantle it, which he does have leverage, because NASA, a government agency, does go to Elon, which is his SpaceX program, which is privately run, all right, for assistance. So we're having 2 guys, Trump being Trump, Elon being Elon, in their characters, the way they are, being adverse, but they're both pretty defiant in their stance. So, some people are saying this is a lot of speculations, like this is just orchestrated. But you can't rule anything out. 2 Corinthians 2:11. Personally speaking, as a man, I don't think it's orchestrated, because I don't see any upside to it. And what I think happened, again, speaking as a man, when people with a lot of money are donors and they donate to politicians, is to have some sort of political sway, influence politics. Now, Elon made a great sacrifice, because his base was the left. A lot of left-leaning people bought Teslas, EV, save the world, that kind of narrative. Siding with Trump, Tesla stock plummeted. Even with this whole back and forth, Tesla stock just completely plummeted. And so he took a hit on that. He invested a lot to get him in there. He even said, if it wasn't for me, Trump wouldn't have won, which is incriminating, right? But anyways, so he was expected to get some political sway. And there's certain people around Trump, there's certain people of the MAGA movement that didn't like that Elon was trying to flex and get too much influence. And so much that he wanted a particular person in charge of NASA, which was a Democrat. And I'm sure there were people in Trump's cabinet that was like, yo, we can't have this. Because then it's going to really fit the narrative that Elon is really running the White House or what have you. And as you can see, as time was going on, Elon was becoming impatient with Trump. Trump was telling Elon, look, you got to pump your brakes. And yeah, I think once Elon was seeing he can't really move things how he wants to move things, and they didn't extend Doge. Doge, by the way, was not a new government agency, the Department of Government Efficiency. It was a repurposed agency, okay? Because the executive branch can't create new branches. Can't create new departments of government. All right, that's up to the Senate. So they repurposed an agency and called it Doge and put a temporary 6-month contract on it. And once the 6 months was up, we didn't need Elon anymore. So, hey, look, I don't think anybody saw this coming, at least from a prophetic standpoint, because we were sort of leaning towards the idea that, look, Elon is behind the chip in Neuralink, and you have the president that could issue these mandates. So, we thought it was a match made in heaven. A lot of people thought it was a match made in heaven, but hey, man, the Most High is the ultimate one running the show. And nevertheless, these prophecies, RFID microchip being mandated, will still come to pass. Now, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 15. It says, let me read 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Woe, destruction, sorrows coming to the world and them that dwell therein. It says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Their sword and destruction, the sword and destruction draweth nigh. It says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So not only is this rift between Elon and Trump has political things behind it, but the people that behind it, in fact, he went on X and said this whole thing, like, put a vote of should we have a third party. Now, mind you, he owns X, so he could manipulate those votes, but it was very lopsided. We need a third party, and which I don't think most of the people in the United States want a third party per se. I think a lot of people are just moderate. What happened with the left, the so-called Democrats, was they went far left to where, like, even like regular Democrats were like, yo, this is going too fucking far. And these Republicans, people went more Republican, so-called, because it's just like more of a moderate stance. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, the LGBTQ, all this type of shit they were forcing on people, it was just getting out of hand. And also, when Trump was in office, he did put money in a lot of people's pockets. So how come we have the current red wave? And I think if Elon would have had his way and had a Democrat come in power, a lot of people in the Trump camp would have been like, yo, this guy is he's doing too much. He's doing the most. You know what I'm saying? So, but for those of people that was saying Elon's running the country, I mean, shit, what you gonna say now? Trump just tell him to kick rocks, pretty much. It says, for there shall be sedition among men. Sedition means a speaking of an uproar against the government. And again, a lot of distrust right now in the government, right? It says, and invading one another, right? Civil wars, civil unrest, civil division. It says, there shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the courses of their actions shall stand in their power, right? So they're going to be breaking all types of laws, doing whatever the fuck they want to do, all right, when all hell's break loose, all right, and nobody's going to be there to stop them, okay, when all this civil war and stuff is going on, because the cops and these different civil leaders are going to be trying to protect their own self, their own families, you see? But that's growing up. The media, by the way, is going to spin this more, like, they're going to really drive this one, man. So don't be surprised what they call left-wing media. See, Donald Trump is this and this. So I don't know. To me personally, and I was listening to PDB podcast, it makes Elon looks disloyal and disgruntled and emotional. You know, like, that's not a guy you can keep around you, because he can flip-flop on you at any moment if he's not getting his way. So Isaiah 19:2. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, Right. So the modern day Egyptian against Egyptians, the so-called white people against so-called white people. You know, there was a lot of people that, because he saw Elon Musk is Edomite. There was a lot of people in Trump camp that didn't want to fuck with him that also Edomites. You know, like again, Steve Bannon. He didn't like Vivek. He didn't like Elon. He's calling for Elon's deportations. There's crazy shit going on, man. This year has been so headline driven, so volatile, which is awesome. A lot of unexpected shit. This crazy year, man. This is what you get with DJT, right? It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they will fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Right? Race riots, man. All right? Class riots. It's gonna really be like jail out here. When all hell breaks loose, society's gonna mimic what you see in jail. And in jail, people put their gangs to the side. It's just all about race in jail. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just all about trying to survive. And for you to survive, you're gonna try to build trust and alliances, and people typically do that, all right, with those who look like them. You know? So, like I said, I think this is just an organic rift between the two. They could possibly make amends and get back together, who knows? But you know, let's see. I don't want to make too far a call. This thing is still fresh, but let's see how this plays out. Like I said, they could make amends. This guy was calling for the impeachment of Trump and the injunction of J.D. Vance, but right now, at least what I'm hearing in the White House when I watch these different podcasts and those that have ties to the White House is don't say a word, you know? And that people in the White House were saying this guy was, you know, pretty much getting above his bridges. And this is what happened when you have a lot of money. Elon was already been saying shit to the governor of his previous state, California, talk about you don't get off your knees. So this is not out of his character or something he hasn't done in the past, where he's just been outright like saying a fuck you to political leaders, you know, because he could do that. He has leverage. But he also should be careful because, you know, Trump could cut a lot of those subsidiaries. Now, Elon said, look, you only in power for 4 years. I'm going to be here for the next 40 years. One, you don't know that. Two, you better be careful, man. It's better to build bridges than to burn them. So, let these devils do what they do. We're going to watch and see. Watch and see. With that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kodash. The belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Wealth. Salutations to the whole field elect out there. You Akim to Sadakim that did this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.